Well, it's been nearly 3 years since we saw the drop in the lifetime allowance from 1.5 million to 1.25 million, and that in that 3 years they've had time to apply for individual protection. We're now less than 8 weeks away from the end of the tax year and the deadline from which to apply for Individual Protection 2014. You will still have the option to apply for Individual Protection 2016 and Fixed Protection 2016 if you're eligible, but the timeline to get any data ready to apply for Individual Protection 14 is really running out. Getting information from schemes within 7 weeks, 7.5 weeks will be very, very tight. So if you haven't done it already, get onto it straight away. There will be certain clients that this will actually impact more than others, and if you want to do sort of a quick rule of thumb as to people that this might affect, this will be people who started taking benefits before April 2006, so before A-Day, and haven't crystallised since then, or have crystallised fairly recently at a lower lifetime allowance. Or if you've got people who are in deferred defined benefit schemes, then they will like to be impacted. The reason for these two particular areas are because of the multiples. So if you're looking for pre-A-Day benefits, then you've got things like annuities, and that would be 25 times the amount that was being paid at the 5th of the 4th, 2014. You've also got 25 times the maximum GAD if they were in cap drawdown at the 5th of the 4th, 2014, and that is irrelevant of what actual income they were taking. Again, if they're in a defined benefit scheme, it's what their actually income was at the 5th of the 4th, 14. So it's getting all this information from 3 years ago together to work out whether or not their benefits are in excess of the 1.25 million, which they can protect. On top of all of that, you've got to add together any crystallisation events that have happened before April 2014, and that would actually be the percentage of lifetime allowance used, revalued to the 1.25 million. You've also got issues where people have got funds that have grown, that have fluctuated over time. So you couldn't necessarily look at someone today and say, well, their fund value is X, so therefore they would have had Y back at that date. You will actually need to go back and get actual values, which should be relatively easy for money purchase schemes, especially if they're on a platform or if they've got a normal personal pension. If they're in a SIP or a SAS possibly, then you're going to struggle a little bit more because you may need to get backdated valuations for properties or other assets that may be more esoteric. So there are things that are going to need to happen, and if you haven't done it already, I would urge you to get onto this as soon as possible, because without the protection, then they would be going down to see a lifetime allowance of dropping down to 1 million, and if they're not entitled to individual protection 2016, it will be as low as 1 million, or it could be up to the 1.25 million if they are eligible now. Just because they're eligible now for IP14 or for IP16, then they may or may not have been eligible for IP14, but you can only have one or the other of those. If they've got enhanced or primary protection, then you're not going to be looking at these, so you can discount those clients already. So just to round up, there may be clients that you still have that you haven't considered IP14 for, and it would be worth going back and looking at those, particularly those people with deferred DB schemes and those people with pre-A-Day benefits that are in payment. You have got this deadline, you will need to apply online, or should I say your client will need to apply online, because it is something that they need to do through the government gateway and their own logon. We've got much more details on Techlink. If you can look under the Individual Protection 2014 bulletin, that will give you all the details and all the calculations that you'll need to work out whether your clients are affected.